Hey friends, so today I'm going to show you guys a quick walkthrough on how to create your own animation. It's going to be nothing super in-depth, but just kind of neat to know if you want to make something on the fly. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a photo program. So I like to use Photopea. If you guys have access to Photoshop, you can use that. I believe people also have access if you have a Stratus account. They should still have Photoshop on there. But Photopea is free, it's online, that you can just run in your browser, and it looks basically the same as Photoshop. So if you don't have Photoshop, this is a pretty good solution to get around that. So I'm just going to make a new project. I'm just going to call it work demo. Doesn't really matter what's going on here, that should be fine. And then I'm going to want, I want to do something with an action reel. So let's go to images. Tools. This isn't really necessary, but if we just make it transparent, that'll save us a step later. Alright, this one looks fine, so let's save it. I'm just going to put it on my desktop because that's an easy location. Alright. So there's that, and now I should be able to, if you're using Photopea, you can just drag it right up and it should open. So perfect. So there's two ways you can get this into our new project. You can either, as long as you're selecting the move tool, you can just drag it right in. Or if you don't want to do that, if you right click this layer, you should be able to duplicate into, and then we could choose Wick Demo and we could do it that way. And now you'll notice that we do have this new layer, and this is what we would do anyway. So, and I'm just gonna, delete one of these extras. Okay, so we have this, and oops, sorry about that. I don't really know what I want to do with this yet, so I'm just going to make it invisible. And I'm going to add some text. Alright, so we're going to do movie countdown. We're going to do 3, 2, 1, and then action. I'm going to make this as big as this will let me go. And I guess this font's fine. Is there anything better? This part of the demo doesn't particularly matter, but I'm not seeing anything catchy. What's this one? Alright, let's see, can we make it any bigger? Ooh, we can. Alright, I like 500, it's pretty nice and it's legible, that's not what I want to do. So I'm just going to move this and center it within my pane. Alright, so we have a new text layer for 3. And I'm just going to duplicate this layer to save myself a little bit of time, and I want this one to be 2. So if you go back to your text tool, and you can now edit it, 2, and I'm just going to hide both of these because that's gross. And let's make 1. Alright, so now we have 3, 2, 1, and we're going to want our film reel to display after those. Let's just make sure this guy's centered. Alright, so now we would have 3, play, 2, 1, action. But we're also probably going to want a little bit of blank space between them. So just for fun, and because we have to do something a little bit more complicated, show you guys a few other functionalities, I'm just going to drag a few things between so that we have a little bit of white space. Also, if you guys can't see what I'm doing here, in order to duplicate a layer, you click on it so it's highlighted, it's active. And then the second to the right symbol is the duplicate icon. This one's trash, don't do that. This one's duplicate. Alright, so now we have a bunch of things. In order to make this an animation, however, you're going to want to, you have to change the name. Sorry. Come here, okay. You have to change the name so it knows it's an animation. So in order to indicate animation, you do _a_, and then we can name this whatever we want. I'm going to leave it as 3 because that's how I know what layer we're on, and I'm going to say 300. So this essentially takes 2 parameters or arguments. The first one is the identifier, which has to be unique, I believe, and then the second one is how many milliseconds you want it to display for. So I've set it for 300 milliseconds. Alright, this one, again, we're going to have to repeat this process with all of them. So this one I'm going to call 3 blank, and I'm going to call it, I'm going to make it a little bit shorter, because I don't really have a reasoning. Sorry. So underscore A, we're gonna call this 1, 2. We're gonna also do 300 seconds and be consistent there. Let's do to blank for 100 milliseconds. We're gonna call this 1, 1 for 300 milliseconds. I'm sure you guys kind of get the idea by now. Oops. Let's call this 1 blank for 100 milliseconds. And then we get to our last one here. Let's call it action. And we'll put that on for 300 milliseconds. And then we want all of these to be invisible except for where we start. And this one doesn't really matter too much. I don't think that we have to include it in our animation per se. But I do want it to start out with white before we get to 3. So, I'll just put it here. Doesn't hurt. Now to preview it, if you go to File, Export As, GIF or GIF, whoever you are, it should kind of show us. Yeah. And so also we could, if you see where we put like 300, 100, we could lengthen those things, or if we want to work on the fly, if I say 90% instead, you can see once it stops loading. And let's slow it down even further, let's say 50%. So you guys can really see the change. Oh, I'm sorry, I am editing quality. Wrong one. And actually, I usually set the quality at 30 because it doesn't really change anything noticeably. And you just save a little space on your computer. Sorry. So let's say, whew, that would not be good. Okay, let's say speed is 50%. All right, so that's another way you can easily do it without having to edit all of these things. And you can go back in and fix all of them, but this way might be a little bit easier. So then you can just save this to your computer if you want to hang on to that. And I guess the reason I brought this up is because if you go to the WIC website, sys.gvc.edu/tilde-wic, when it loads, 1 sec, it's establishing a secure connection. Alright, so here we go. So this is actually done in Photoshop as an animation, or in my version, Photopea as an animation. And so I'll just pull it in the pane really quickly so you guys can see kind of how that works. Just give me a minute to open the correct folder. And I believe it's this one. Also, before I explain this bit really quickly, please note that if you're working with like Photoshop, the PSD is a Photoshop file, so if you just do Control-S, you can save that if you want to open up essentially this view. If you want it to actually show up like on a website or something, you're going to want to export it most likely as either a GIF or I believe also a PNG will allow you to do animations. So here's the WIC animation, and the way this works is a little bit complicated because of how the website's designed with the background color. So I have this initial layer, which is just the initial background. Okay. This one's just this background color across the whole thing. And then on top of that, I've put the darkened blue letters WIC. And then all of these, the animation part of this, so I'm illustrating here that you don't have to have the entire I guess not every layer has to be included in the animation. Like this blue layer is a constant. I don't want that to change, so I didn't use the underscore A part. But all these guys, if you were to overlap them, you can see that this is I'm just going to delete these. This is how we would see the numbers start scrolling up. So frame by frame, you'll see they get a little bit higher, etc. So this is the actual animation part of it. And this top layer is here because, so if we didn't have this layer here, as you can see, it would go straight across the whole thing because essentially what these are doing, because they're on top of the base layer, they're going to show up on top of that, they're going to show up on top of the dark blue. So in order to make it seem like it's contained within these 3 letters, you have to do this top layer and see how it hides it. And I think the only super easy way to create that was I was on this layer, and I want to say I just used I'm blind for a second here. No, that's not what I want. There we go. probably the magic wand. And see how I just grabbed all this? You can just then copy and paste that as a new layer. And then Control D to deselect. So hopefully this is a pretty easy walkthrough on how to make your own small animation. I don't know when you guys will need to use this in life, but it's kind of fun to do. So, I don't know, thanks for watching and have fun.